Hey, Good Fox here. Today I'm going to talk about the blocking updates in Madden 18. Came with a blog this morning, aka yesterday, for you guys watching this on YouTube, but a couple hours delayed from when I'm recording it. Anyways, so players have asked for a variety of improvements in the trenches Madden 18 delivers. Yeah, we'll see. This sentence is true, but this one, I'm not so sure. I don't know. We'll see it when we get there. But I'm excited because of the emphasis placed on this. We're going to go through what they talk about and the updates to the passing block, the pass blocking and run blocking and whatnot. Overall, the lineman in Madden has probably been the most trash feature and the AI mechanics on the line that they've had to deal with and that we as consumers have had to deal with for quite a bit. I mean, the swerve is pretty bad too in 17, but just generally over the lifespan of Madden, the line play has been some of the worst, probably the worst thing about Madden. So heavy emphasis on player unit and unit ratings, which is great. The players are going to play like we pay them to. We provided a new tool called ID the Mic. ID the Mic is basically, they're going through a lot of all this, all their context or whatnot. Basically, the mic is going to be like, the mic linebacker doesn't necessarily have to be him. But in this Madden thing, all you need to know about IDing the mic, you can read the blog for more background and whatnot. But all you need to know about IDing the mic is you want to ID the guy you think's going to blitz. Now, if you think the opponent's sending 6 and you've only got 5 people blocking, no matter who you ID, you're going to get fucked. So you got to know and you got to predict. You got to see who's kind of like lurching, who you think your opponent's going to bring. You got to block a running back. They say they've tuned the running back AI here to help with IDing the mic. But I think generally a lot of my passing schemes in 17 have a blocking running back. And a lot of schemes in the NFL, it has a running back, either blocking or checking, releasing, and that kind of thing. So that's something I think you want to continue into 18, especially IDing the mic. So because in 17 we've had such a nickel blitz focus, or blitzing off the edge focus in this game, ID the mic I think is going to be a huge improvement for 18, being able to say, hey, block that nickel that I know you couldn't do in 17, but we got it in 18. So I think the meta to start Madden, we're going to try to come up with like dual edge pressure and try to get them to ID the wrong mic. But the thing is, like, offensive line shifts still work, and you're going to need still that kind of like edge heat off both edges, and then your opponent's going to have to guess and block other people. So it's going to be kind of like a game of cat and mouse. They guess one way, you send it the other way and get a sack. They guess one way, you send it that way, they block it, and then you got to make a play in coverage. So we'll see what that evolves to. The meta always seems to settle on the most optimal strategy on both sides, but I do think having a blocker in there is going to help you. Offensive unit line awareness, but basically how you do this, I should say how you do it. How does it work if you think the nickel? All right. Basically, you hit the LB on Xbox or L1 on PS4, and then that brings up the pass protection just like it does this year. Now you can either shift the line or you can hit A/X to ID the mic. Then you move the M icon, the mic icon, with the left stick or the D-pad to the nickel who is showing the blitz, or whoever you think's blitzing, and then lock it in with another A or X press. Now, they don't say this here, but what you want to do is shift your line before doing this. You can't do anything with your line after IDing the mic. It resets the whole damn thing. So make sure the ID the mic is the very last adjustment you do on offense. So that's the tip right there. He talked about it. Clint talked about it on Twitter. I'll get to his tweet in a second. We'll talk a little bit about what he went through and answered a bunch of questions today. But moving forward, offensive unit line awareness. There was some grumblings I saw from people about this. So all right, real good. All right, when the average awareness score of the 5 offense linemen reaches 80, the ability to recognize blitzes scales. An 80 rated O-line will be able to recognize heat about 5% of the time. About 5% of the time. Whereas an O-line averaging 97 or higher in awareness will recognize the pressure on almost every single play. Now this leads me to believe that the O-line almost cheats. Like, they can see who the defense has set on a blitz angle and who they hasn't. That's what it feels like this reads to me. So that's kind of interesting that they're actually making the awareness matter, because it really doesn't matter in past Maddens. Now, a lot of competitive players and people that send, crazy edge heat, they don't like the O-line having to recognize it. They like the players themselves having to recognize it and pick them up with certain adjustments based on what you've learned in your time and how to do it. So people with unique blitz schemes are kind of suffering a little bit if your opponent gets a O-line averaging 97. Now, The only thing, Madden 17, or MUT 17, there's only 2 linemen with 97 or higher awareness. And it's a center and a guard. And this is August, or just about August here. So the fact that we're not going to see them, we won't have to worry about this at the beginning of MUT. This is something that maybe they'll start picking up more and more. This is getting like late after the Super Bowl time, that these guys are going to start getting up into the low to mid 90s. But we will start off with an 80 rated alignment. Now, this is interesting. Between 80 and 97, 17 points. Now, it goes up from 5% to 100%. So that's like, what, 19? So I would think, based on the way they say it scales, like an 81 rated O-line will be able to recognize heat about 10% of the time. An 82, 15, 83, and so on and so forth. Not too bad. I think offensive line hopefully will be able to pick up those unique skins, and that's kind of what they want them. And what Madden's moving to is more looking like real football. And then they say there's a focus on the center. So the center's awareness kills. Its rating counts 2 times relative to everybody else. So basically, the center replaces the worst awareness on the offensive line. So you can have a center with 95 awareness and then a tackle with 70, and the center will replace that tackle's 70 awareness. So that's kind of neat because the center is so important. Moving forward, tuning in improvements. So this is interesting. Block shedding and disengage have been tuned with a heavy emphasis on player ratings and scheme. Scheme's an interesting choice of word right there based on how you move. But in the past game, only edge rushers using power move or finesse move with a 90 or higher rating when they've been able to a super win. Ability to get a super win if we're rushing on the edge. So, and then, you know, it's the difference in those ratings will matter too. So at the beginning of MUT, you absolutely need to find power or finesse moves over 90 for super wins. Super wins are stops in the backfield. That kills that helps kill a drive. So you want the super wins, Superman you also want. But power finesse move, yeah. So that's what that teaches us. And then we'll get to Clinton. He's talking about what the delta and that stuff means. The matchup delta, well, delta means difference. The difference between the blocker and the defender will determine there's the speed at which the block shed and its frequency. Okay, however, the only time an outcome will be 100% is when a player has a 50-point advantage on either side. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Block shed is not going to be over 50 points higher than a run block. Unless there's a bronze lineman. Then, yeah, I can see that happening. Sorry, I just need a sip of water. The strength rating matters more than ever in Madden 18. It didn't matter before. So, defender's ability to disengage away from the blocker, not shed through the blocker. So that's an interesting distinction. Disengaging is like, say your quarterback rolls out of the pocket and your lineman's being held up by an offensive lineman, so your D lineman, like say it's Reggie White, and he's got huge strength. So he'll be able to disengage because he's able to just push away from the guy. And then he'll be able to go chase that quarterback. And the disengage also, where does it say that? Will determine defender get out of the grasp of the blocker and when wanting to move away from the blocker. They talk about it as the edge. Yeah, okay. Clint talks about it on Twitter. So like the angle at which you can disengage. So obviously if you're head up on a man and you want to go backwards, all you have to do is run backwards. That I think will take 0 strength to do. But if you want to disengage to that man's shoulder and kind of off on like a 45-degree angle kind of through that man, that will be more strength focused than block shed, than actually shedding past him and making a move that way with your hands. You'll actually just be pushing through him and kind of disengaging him on a very straight angle. Makes it easier for you to disengage if the quarterback or running back kind of gets off of one shoulder on that blocker. I think I explained that pretty decently, but let me know if I didn't. Impact blocking, with the addition of the blocking stick on offense and the blow-up submarine the blocker mechanic on defense, that's the right thumbstick on both of those in order for you to engage one of them. Hopefully it doesn't get glitchy. Both the offensive and defensive players will now be rated with the impact block category. So last year in 17, it was only impact block versus block shed. So now both sides of the ball have impact block category, or IMP. So your defender is now going to have 70-something impact, and the offensive lineman's going to have 80-something impact. So there's just going to look at for further run beating type defense, not just all block shed now. All right, so that's running faster than a jog speed. We've talked about that on the channel before. Running the ball versus a weak box. Don't us men love weak boxes. All right, in Madden 18, we've expanded our logic around defense, stopping the run when using sub defenses, such as $9 quarter, run formation. We can read through this. And, yeah. So there's going to be a lot more pancakes on pass commitments and weak sets versus running set. Yeah, so that's it. And they say there's going to be more punishment for dropping defensive linemen into coverage against a running formation. I'll see it when we see it. All right, running back pass blocking. They say they've been updated and expand their ability to scan across the entire formation. So that helps. They won't just stay on one side of it or go fly up toward the middle of your formation, or hopefully not trip your quarterback as much as they did in 17. Yeah, they'll scan and go all that good stuff. Just to tune into cut blocking and block sheds with a heavy emphasis on rating matchup between the two players. In Madden 17, there was a ton of cut blocking off edge pressure, which is kind of nice. It helped stop that edge pressure. I'll take it. Open field blocking, they just increased the awareness, and here's just them explaining what they did to improve that logic. So open field blocking and lead blockers better. Clint on Twitter said fullback still not perfect, but it is improved from 17. So don't run your stuff with a fullback, I guess. They delivered on a ton of requests to your players asked by providing more tools to customize the blocking experience. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it is. I mean, let's get to Clint on Twitter here. And this jerk, he ended up unfollowing me on Twitter. A little disappointed. But he says we won't hold it against him during this little talk down. The blocker win 85% of the time unless the QB holds onto the ball long at 3 seconds. So what he's saying on a pass rush for Madden Diner, 1v1 matchup with 99 pass block versus 99 finesse or power move. So the blocker's going to still win 85% of the time when their pass block and finesse or power move are equal. So if longer than 3 seconds, there's a quick delay. So you want to get the ball out in under 3 seconds. That's not terrible for a pass rush. Get home in 3 seconds. And especially if you have a 4-man rush, then you'll be getting like through, like 40% of the time then. It's not terrible. Not terrible at all. You can't ID more than one player. This one says. Oh, here's another really interesting one. What would the difference in an end with just 99 power move versus an end with 99 power and finesse move? Do with 2 99s can use either move with a great sex. Do with success. Did I say sex? Do with only one can use one move. AI still uses both, but weighted to higher. So if you got like a high power move but a low finesse move, the AI still might try and use that finesse move. Yikes. Not as frequently, though. All right. Yeah, this was that I was talking about earlier with the adjustments. I think that's kind of what... Yeah, here it is. The bigger the angle is allowed for the disengage for the strength rating. Yeah. All right, that is it for what I kind of wanted to get with him. He's got some other interesting tweets. Hashtag follow the fox. Yeah, so take a look. I can link his Twitter. But I will talk to you guys later. That's it for the blocking blog. Should hopefully be better next year. And I will talk to you tomorrow.